Dear students, hope you are all well. So, students, in the last class, we learnt about the village economy, how it was in that period, the trade and the business that was being followed. And even we have seen about the salt industries, that is, how Shivaji Maharaj had imposed taxes on Portuguese territory, that was, they were being importing salt. And even we have seen about military organization and intelligence department, how efficiently these departments worked and provided a clear and precise information to Shivaji Maharaj. Now let us move further with the chapter. In this part, we will learn about points about forts, that how they were being captured and were brought under the power of Marathas kingdom. Okay, then we are going to see about sea forts, that is how they were established. We are going to see about that. Then navy, and how Shivaji Maharaj took initiative for navy, and even we are going to see about the concern for the welfare of his subjects, that is how protection was being given to the Maratha warriors as well as to the people who were under his kingdom. Okay, so the first is forts. So, forts were of great importance in the medieval age. Because of the possession of the fort, it was possible to keep an eye on the surrounding area as well as to protect from the enemy's attack. So the possession in the fort were made in such a way that the people who were keeping an eye could easily see that the enemies are coming and they are going to attack on the forts. Even forts were the protection for the common people from the attack of foreign invasions. So people in this kingdom used to take shelter in these forts. They were being made or which were being brought under the control of Maratha powers. Okay, let's move forward. So, and it was also possible in the fort to keep the stock of different things that were being required by the people who were living inside the forts. Now, what were there? What all things were there? Such as food grains, war materials that were being used during the time of war, ammunition, the same thing used during the time of war, and military garrison. Okay, so the importance of forts in the foundation of Swaraj is well started in the Agnyapatra. That means why these forts were being captured and why they were brought under the control of Maratha powers. So the importance of the forts, these all things are being mentioned in the Agnyapatra. So it stated that these kingdoms were created by the late revered and exaggerated mages by forts alone. That means many had sacrificed, okay, many had devoted their life for the foundation of Swaraj, but still they are being remembered, okay, they're still being remembered with the presence of these forts. And not only one or single, but many of them had contributed for the establishment of Swaraj. Okay, let's move forward. Now, there were about 300 forts in the Swaraj. That means these 300 forts were looked by Shivaji Maharaj. Certain were being captured by different kingdoms and certain were being built by Shivaji Maharaj for the establishment of Swaraj. So what? Shivaji Maharaj, he used to spend a considerable amount of money for what? On the building and repair of these forts. That means he took care. He maintained these forts and he also built forts. Okay, he built hill forts like Pratapgarh, Pavangarh, and Rajgarh. So these were the hill forts. Now in the fourth chapter, we have seen different types of forts, right? If you remember, we have seen hill forts, we have seen sea forts, and other different types of forts. So, among these three were the hill forts that were being established by Shivaji Maharaj. Let's move forward. Now, certain people were being appointed, okay? Certain people were being appointed to look after the administration as well as the maintenance of the fort, okay? So, who were they? They were, there was a Kiledar, a Sabnis, and a Karkanis who would look after each and every fort, okay? Then the Karkhanis, he looked after the storage of food grains and the maintenance of war material that was being required on the fort. Okay, let's move forward. The next is the sea forts. Now, Shivaji Maharaj knew that the importance of forts, that is, why he had emphasis on different types of forts. And among them, sea forts were also given importance. So, Shivaji Maharaj knew the importance of sea fort. So, one of the sea forts that he built was Sindhudurg at Malwan, and it was an excellent sea fort. Why? Why it was an excellent sea fort? Because it was given strength. It was given strength to the construction of the fort with 5 khandis of lead was poured into its foundation. Now, as you can see in the slide, that the fort is surrounded by water from all the sides. That means its foundation should be very, very strong. It should be very strong enough so that it should stand properly. It should stand still properly in the water. So Maharaj looked after the fort properly and saw that the foundation is very strong enough. Okay, let's move forward. Now, one of the famous sea fort was called as Padma Durga, and it was built in front of Rajapuri so that the Siddhi power that was established in front of this fort would come to know the importance and the power of Maratha kingdom as well. So about this fort, Maharaj, he said a letter that by constructing Padma Durga, he had set up another Rajapuri to overshadow the Rajapuri of the Siddhis. That means the fort that was built by Shivaji Maharaj was so strong enough that it could not withstand the powers of the Siddhis. It would teach them a great lesson that how Maratha kingdom is strong enough and can handle each and every attack of the enemies. Okay, let's move forward. Now, we have seen in the previous chapters also that how Shivaji Maharaj had to struggle and to fight against the enemies. How he need to withstand in front of the enemies and their attacks. Okay. So the enemies on the west coast of India, that is the Portuguese of Goa, Siddhis of Janjira, and the British factors of Surat and Rajapur. So what they were doing? They were creating obstacles, problems in the establishment and the work of expanding the Swaraj. That means they were putting some difficulty, some problems in his work of expanding his Swaraj. Okay, let's move forward. Then the next is Shivaji Maharaj. He decided to teach them a lesson. Okay. Now, how this is possible to stop the unwanted activities? They were troubling. They were creating problems. So he wanted to stop their unwanted activities. So Shivaji Maharaj, he decided to protect the west coast and curb their activities. Okay, to look at what they are doing. So for this reason, Shivaji Maharaj, he raised a navy. Okay, he raised a navy. He realized that the one who has a navy can control the sea properly, and that was the foresight of Shivaji Maharaj. So he decided that he would train navy that would look after the sea forts that was established and will protect them from the enemy's attack. Okay, let's move forward. So there were 400 ships of various kinds in his navy who would look after the seafoods. So they included battleships so that the enemies were going to attack on the seafoods that were under the control of Maratha powers. They would teach them a good lesson. Okay, so these battleships were like Gurab, Kalbhat, and Pal. So these ships were built in the creek of Kalyan, Bhiwandi. So they were built there. And Vijaydurg and Malwan by Mayank Bhandari and Daulat Khan, they were the chief naval commanders who looked after the navy and gave them training to fight against the enemies who are creating obstacles or creating trouble in the expansion of the Swaraj. Okay. Now, moving on to the last point in the chapter is concern for the welfare of his subjects. Now, we know the qualities of Shivaji Maharaj, right? We have seen how bravely he used to work for Swaraj, as well as he would look after the administrative policies and also look after the welfare of his subjects in different criteria. So Maharaj did not work only with the limited ambition of conquering enemy territories and establishing dominance like other things. But his main objective, what was his main objective? To make his subjects independent. Now we all know what was the criteria fixed by Shivaji Maharaj and why he thought of establishing Swaraj. We know the meaning of Swaraj. What's the meaning of Swaraj? Swaraj means self-independence. So, what was the dream of Shivaji Maharaj? That everyone should work independently. No one should rule them or no one should get dominated by other kingdoms. So they should work independently for themselves as well as should find justice in whatever work they are doing. Okay, let's move forward. Then he also knew that the work of establishing Swaraj was not easy, as well as he was surrounded from all the sides with the enemies. So to protect Swaraj from enemies, he needed to be well versed in each and every activity. So he was aware that if his subjects were to really get the enjoyment with freedom and independency and to enjoy these rights, it was necessary what? To have a disciplined administration. And that is why he made council of ministers. Okay, that's why he made council of ministers in every department who would look after different administrative works. That was of the kingdom. Even he needed to take care for the welfare of his subjects. Like he did not have only one kind of work, he had different kind of work. He also had to look after the welfare of his people as well as to protect the conquered territories, whatever territories he had conquered from the enemies. So this was his main intention, that to protect the Swaraj as well as to protect the kingdom, and the welfare of his subject should be given importance to. So we can say that Shivaji Maharaj was not merely a ruler only, but he was a watchful administrator as well, who would look after, who would care for his people welfare, and that is clearly seen in his administration of the state, of how well he was and how well he was cleared in his ideas, where, and he used to use these ideas for the establishment and to fight against different enemies who continuously had commanded out, created different problems in the establishment of Swaraj. Okay, let's move forward. That's your homework. The first question is, the Maratha Navy had dash ships of various kinds. The next question is, forts were of great importance in the dash age. And the last one is, what was the duties of the Karkhanis? Okay, that's all for now. Your chapter ends over here. We will learn the next chapter in the next video. Thank you for listening, children. Goodbye. Take care.